On this episode of Film Crash, I explain why you ought to watch Howard Hawks' The Thing from Another World this Halloween on its 70th anniversary year. Coming up next. Hey everybody, it's JDV here for Evil Genius Entertainment. Welcome on into another episode of Film Crash. Before I jump into that episode, I want to tell you guys that episode 5 of our zombie series Reanimated should be dropping in the next few days, for sure, hopefully, before Halloween. You can go check out the first 4 episodes of that series here. We also have some full-length horror films you can check out, including Living Dead World, which is another type of zombie film, Vampire Land, about the vampire apocalypse, Five Must Die, about a bunch of students who get slaughtered by an insane ghost, and Witch Hunter, which is, about a witch. All right, so let's get right on to it. Now, let me give you some reasons why you ought to watch Howard Hawks' The Thing from Another World. It is the 70-year anniversary of this film. It is widely regarded as one of the greatest horror science fiction movies of the 50s, and I think it's one of the greatest films of all time in that genre. It's influenced all manner of other filmmakers, probably most importantly John Carpenter, who of course directed the remake in 1982, so it's the 41-year anniversary of that film. But even before he directed that, if you watch the original Halloween, the scary movie that Laurie Strode and the kids she's babysitting is actually The Thing from Another World. In fact, one of Carpenter's earlier movies, Assault on Precinct 13, is essentially a tribute to Howard Hawks' westerns like Rio Bravo. You can also see the influence on this on foreign filmmakers. Horror Express, starring Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, is essentially a loose kind of remake or a similar tale to the original Thing. And of course you have Carpenter's remake and the prequel to Carpenter's remake, which I'm going to talk about those two in just a second. Well, what is it about the original that makes it such a great film? Well, it's based on Joseph W. Campbell's Who Goes There, which is a story that really none of the 3 films have really been truly that close to, because the aliens in that are so fantastically powerful. They did have to kind of be dumbed down, I think, for film. The original Thing is more of a monster film, where the 2 subsequent things are more a psychological horror. I mean, there definitely is monsters in that, but they're not just the singular type of monster that we see in the original. Part of what makes the original so great is the great cast. Kenneth Tobey as the pilot/captain of the expedition that goes to the North Pole is fantastic. Again, you can see the influence of this movie on other filmmakers, as Kenneth Tobey is in The Howling by Joe Dante. Again, a little tribute back to going all the way back to The Thing. Anyway, he's fantastic in it. Margaret Sheridan as the sterling young ingenue is just both fantastically beautiful and very smart and witty. Very much she's not just a sit back and scream type of character. Very well-rounded character. She is the secretary of the character played by Robert Cornthwaite, who is the kind of mad scientist character in the film. You can see a tribute to him in the prequel of The Thing, which has an actor and a character very similar both in looks and kind of how they act in that film. And you have James Arnaz as The Thing itself. He's really big and scary in that. And actually Billy Barty, I think, has got a little bit of a role in this film right there at the very end. The whole cast is fantastic. The chemistry between them is just absolutely marvelous. And like all other Howard Hawks films, one of the things that distinguishes those movies is the fact that the characters will have overlapping dialogue. So you could have 2 characters talking here, the main characters talking here, everybody jumping in and out. It's a very realistic way to try to get the dialogue. It is very, very hard for the actors to get down, particularly if they're not experienced, but when it's pulled off right, it really does add a sense of realism to it, as does the black and white photography. Now, you can actually find a colorized version of this that they did for Turner Classic Movies way back in the 90s, which I actually don't mind at all. So if you really want to see it in color, you can find it in color, but it works just fine in black and white. And like Night of the Living Dead by George A. Romero, the black and white does kind of give it a sort of a gritty, grainy, documentary type feel to the film, which again helps the realism. The effects are very realistic and stand the test of time. The script itself is very tight. I think it's only just comes in right at 90 minutes, so you're in and out. It's a very strong story. The music by Dimitri Tomikin is absolutely fantastic. He's more known for doing his westerns and big kind of real-world epics, but the Oscar winner is at his very best, I think, in the score from The Thing. It's absolutely creepy. It is really one of the great horror scores of all time, but it really is probably the best example of 50s sci-fi horror music, maybe that or Forbidden Planet. If you're a buff of World War II type movies, there's a big feel to that film of that. After all, it was shot only 6 years after the war had ended and the Cold War had just gotten started. So there's those kind of elements and things that you'd expect to see in 50s era films. One other kind of side note to this film is that it actually was directed or credited to be directed by Christian Nyby. Now this is a little bit of the situation, kind of what we see later on in the 80s for the original Poltergeist film, where you have Tobe Hooper directing the film, but Steven Spielberg is on set every day and is clearly has an influence on the film. Same exact thing here. Christian Nyby was a protege of Howard Hawks, and yet Hawks was on the set every single day. Depending on what actor you talk to, I think Kenneth Tobey said, well, yeah, it's Howard Hawks directed this movie. Other actors say, well, Christian Nyby helped do the blocking and things like that. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter. I suppose nowadays you'd give them co-director status because I think that's probably fair. But no matter who directed this film, it is a great one and you should check it out. My recommendation is going to be to watch the original in the best print that you can find. And there are some, I think you can get this on Blu-ray. I know right now the various over-the-air TV stations are running a very clean, very good copy of this film. So just try to watch it in the best way you can, color if you want to try to watch it that way. Then watch 2011's The Thing prequel, which is a prequel to the John Carpenter version, a very loving and underrated prequel in my opinion. It's the 10-year anniversary of that film. And then you go right from The Thing prequel right into John Carpenter's The Thing. I mean, you literally, they start and stop right at the same scene. So you can roll right into that and have a very nice little Thing trilogy. And if you still need some more alien invasion horrors, you can check out the aforementioned Horror Express. I think that might be in the public domain, so you should be able to find copies of it for free, although they probably won't look great. And also, you can watch Harbinger Down, which stars Lance Henriksen. It came out right around the same time as The Thing prequel because it was made by the guys who did the practical effects that were ultimately rejected for CG for The Thing prequel. So that movie's called Harbinger Down. I think it's on Amazon. Anyway, it's a pretty good movie. I've seen that movie 2 or 3 times. All right, so that's going to wrap it up. The Thing is one of my favorite films. I've probably seen it 30 times. There is a lot there to learn the craftsmanship of filmmaking by watching it if you want to be a filmmaker. And of course, it is just a rip-roaring horror science fiction movie that really does stand the test of time. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. It really does help us. Give us a thumbs up if you like this sort of content and 2 thumbs down if you don't. All right, love each other. Until next time, I'm going to see you guys in the Film Shack. Have a great Halloween holiday. We're 2 weeks away from Halloween weekend as I record this, and you could do a whole lot worse than watching Howard Hawks' The Thing. All right, see you guys next time.
Be sure to visit evilgeniusentertainment.com for exclusive content, swag, casting call news, and much, much more.